Hi, welcome to the Gando Tech Learning channel. Today we're gonna start another exciting video in terms of RESTful API. Uh, this video is talking about sort of introduction in terms of REST API, and then we're gonna move to the walkthrough to implement a RESTful API to see how it's working. Before I start, as you've seen in my slide, this is our Facebook account. So you can see lots of exciting things over there and any news from basically Gando Tech. Also, this is the Instagram account. You can follow there and see the news as well. So as part of this video, we're gonna start uh, with this agenda. What is REST? What's the difference between REST and SOAP? And what is Postman? And then a walkthrough through a case study, which is product inventory system. We're going to talk about the architecture we are going to implement, and then we take you through the implementation to see how the Web API will be implemented in .NET Core 3.1, and also we're going to create a um, console application to see how we are using the API externally alongside interacting via the Postman. So we're going to take you through all these things, and please bear with us and watch the rest of the video. So just to mention, please subscribe to this basically channel, to our YouTube channel, which is the Gando Tech Learning channel. And most of you definitely aware of this, and you're already basically using the videos. This is the first video in terms of the REST API. After this, we're gonna shoot another video which is basically how to secure the API. And I'm going to talk about it once I give you the background about what's the API actually, and then we're gonna talk about how to secure it. And in the next video, via the implementation and a proper walkthrough, we're gonna show you how to secure it. So, what is a REST API? The REST actually, first thing and basic thing stands for representational state transfer, and was created by a computer scientist, Roy Fielding. So a REST or RESTful API is an application programming interface that conforms to constraints of REST architectural style and allows for interaction with RESTful web services. When a client request is made via a RESTful API, it transfers a representational state of the resource to the requester or endpoint. And this representation is delivered in one of the formats via the HTTP, which is could be JSON, HTML, XLT, or Python, PHP. Any basically, it's gonna support any format which you think. So as you know, the API is uh, basically make the life really easy for the developers to just basically creating an API and publish it under the HTTP protocol, and it's going to be a simple URL. That's it, and you're gonna just communicate with your API via that URL, and you're gonna basically represent your request or responses in any format you want. So this is a big flexibility in terms of the REST. If you want to compare it with other exist APIs like SOAP, for example, which is the traditional ones. So that's why the REST basically became very popular in terms of in between the developers and any technical basically stack. So because it's really easy to use, is basically is going to be a lightweight data transformation, and You don't need to basically instantiate anything before a start. Just straight away, just start using the web API. That's it, simple as that. So also the most important things and the most easiest basically format, which is normally basically and is very popular between the programmers, is the JSON format. And the good thing is API is the web API or RESTful API is supporting that, and it's really readable, um, and also anyone, either the technical or non-technical one, could easily understand the JSON format. And also, as part of the HTTP protocol, we're going to use the headers, parameters, and once we are, for example, sending the request to the basically web API, and it could be contain any other basically data like the authorization things, URI things, caching system, and cookies. So these are the most important things and very useful things, which is basically happening once you are using the API, web API, actually, RESTful API. And also, the other thing is REST API is extensively considered as a standard protocol for the web API. Also, REST API has been growing rapidly since 2005. So these are just sort of backgrounds to bring in your mind about the REST API in terms of the introduction. And as I said, the developers rely on this API as it's easy to understand if you want to compare it with the REST others, basically APIs which is existing in the market. So in here we are going to compare two most popular APIs, which is at the moment basically are in the market. One is SOAP and the other one is REST. So I'm just basically organized and categorized the differences between them, and you can easily understand why REST is basically uh, more preferable. So this table, as you read, you will see some sort of basically introduction about each API as well. So it's good to basically find out, okay, what's this and why is better or why is worse. So the SOAP is a protocol and uses as a service interface. So every time you wanna once you have a SOAP or web service, actually, so once you want to use it, you have to create an interface for this in your application to be able to use it. So you have to do some instantiate things before I start using the soap. So that's why it's make it a bit basically difficult. But so the rest is an architectural style and uses URI. But so the rest is just a URI. So you just call it's like you go to, for example, take your web API URL and dump it into your browser address bar. Bingo, that's it. So you will see at least some results. So that's the easiest things, just using the REST API. So the same is going to be once you call it from the your application. Simple as that. So SOAP is function driven and performs an operation as a standardized protocol for a transferring structural information. But the rest is data driven and accesses a resource for the data. So but the other differences is SOAP only supports XML, but REST, as we mentioned earlier, is supporting a variety of basically formats like text, HTML, XML, JSON, which is most popular one is a JSON. And SOAP defines its own security. So for SOAP, once you are basically introducing your service interface in your config, in your applications, so you can define your own security as well. So to use any formats which is basically required to be used for your SOAP. But in REST, you are inheriting the security from underlying basically transport layer. So whatever you use in your, for example, you are using the VPN, you are using the HTTPS to secure your channel. So you REST is just using that one. Simple as that. That's why it's really important to make your API secure. Because if you just use the HTTP URL, uh, everyone, if you publish it to the basically worldwide, then as soon as anyone has got that URL, they could easily access to the API and fetch or post the data, whatever they want. So that's why it's very important to secure it properly to make sure only authorized and authenticated people are accessing to your API. That's really important. That's why in this next video, which we are going to provide you, we are basically changing the architecture, the current this architecture, which I'm going to talk about this in our walkthrough, is going to be changed to add another component, which is basically the basically which is going to secure your API or any other applications. It's like to just give you a hint to make it more excited is it's going to be an interface which is providing the single sign-on for your basically applications, and it could be used for any applications which is web or any console applications or any service which is going under the hood communicating with your APIs. So SOAP requires more bandwidth and resources. It's obviously because it's XML. XML is a heavy payload, so that's why it's basically going to be more basically heavy and using bandwidth. But in REST, it's less bandwidth and resources, obviously, because once you are using the plain text or JSON format, it's just text. So simple, lightweight. SOAP-based calls cannot be cached. So caching is not supported by SOAP, which is very important. But in REST, you could easily. And it's basically because of, so the whole concept of caching is saving time and resources. That's it. SOAP is very closely coupled with the server, and that make it more difficult to change or update. But REST is less coupled, so easily you can basically use it or understand it. Interacting with SOAP needs knowledge, even initiate an interaction, but in REST, no need knowledge of the API. So as I said earlier, you don't need to prepare the application to be able to use your API in your REST API. But in SOAP, you must do some preparation before you start using that, and you have to have a knowledge about your API definitely. SOAP cannot use REST because it's a protocol, but REST can use SOAP because it's a transport. It is a concept actually. So in REST, definitely you can use other basically available SOAPs if you want easily. SOAP cannot use. Oh yeah, it's I just already mentioned that. So the other one is JavaScript can call SOAP, but it's so difficult to implement. Yeah, because SOAP is literally server based, and so you can use it, but you have to do lots of tweaks to be able to use the SOAP. But in REST, it's just like a piece of cake. That's it. Simple as that. You can easily just use because it's a URL. Simple as that. You can get or post in your JavaScript and simply use your API. Bingo. So these are the differences between SOAP and REST, and that's why basically make the REST becoming more popular and popular over these years. And that's it, simple as that. So, what is Postman? So, this Postman actually is not the post office man, actually. So, I'm just joking. Um, so, the Postman is a tool because once you are providing your API, so one simple question comes up in your mind. Oh, how can I test it? Ooh, That's a good question. Um, so you have two ways. Either you go and create an application to be able to communicate with your API, or you can use some ready-made tools, which is basically made to specifically test your APIs whenever it's required. Like uh, Postman is one of them, one of the most popular one. Basically, you have Swaggers or any other. There are lots of tools out there in the market. You can use them. So it's as you wish. So if you know these basically kind of tools, you don't need to stick okay to this Postman. You can just literally start create your web API and just use your own tool. That's it, simple as that. Or if you don't want it, you can just ignore it. Just create another console application or web application and just communicate with your API. That's the whole thing, because it's as simple as that. Yeah. So yeah. So the Postman is an application to interacting with HTTP APIs. Easy. It has got a friendly GUI for constructing requests and reading responses. So we're gonna basically move into it once we start implementation of the API. So no worry about that. And yes, Postman comes with different shapes. Like you can download the Windows application ones and use it as we do it basically in this video. You can use the online application just via the browser, create your request or responses or whatever, and just send it and get the response. And also you can create extension in your browser like Chrome, Firefox, whatever browser you need. You just go to the add-on or extensions, whatever, based on your browser, and just add it and use it. Simple as that. So now, as part of our walkthrough, we're gonna introduce a case study, which is the product inventory system. And the reason I'm basically introducing these case studies because these are something which is happening in the reality. So that's why I try to make them more practical. I mean the videos, because these are the real things which is happening in the market, in the businesses, in the companies. So if you know how to introduce and implement them, then it's going to be a good experience for you guys to be able to easily get the job, or for example, show off your knowledges in terms of having the experience in terms of the commercial things. That's very important, rather than just going playing without any goal or any thought behind that. So in basically here, we're gonna introducing a product inventory system, which is going to, I will show you the detail of the architecture. It's a simple architecture. So I'm just saying is a practical, but anything in the real basically world which is happening in the companies is as simple as that. You just just there is a meaning behind that, there is a goal behind that. So that's why it's giving them basically make them meaningful actually. So as part of basically this implementation, we're gonna go and get all the products from the warehouse, get the products by ID, add products, deleting product. I'm gonna show you how to update the products as well. So any CRUD, as you know, CRUD process, which is happening everywhere. And so that's the architecture which we are going to talk about and implement it. So as you can see, so this is the end user. This is the end user here, which is going to communicate with our API, which is the product inventory API, and actually interacting with the warehouse indirectly. So one of the main reasons of using API to not giving the access, the direct access to our resources. That's really important. So we give them hands or help to the third party. So I just ask them, okay, what do you want? End user is saying, okay, I want this, and we say, okay, we're gonna provide it for you. and then inventory is going and pick the data or post the data into the warehouse and then get the result back to the uh, end user. So we are not going to open the door of accessing our warehouse straight away to the end user. Then you know it's going to be a big mess if you have um, millions of users or even hundred thousands or anything accessing to our data and just playing with that without any basically control. And we're going to have a Poco class which is interacting between the end user and our inventory and also warehouse, which is a product, and it has got ID, name, price, quantity. So yes, this is basically it was a sort of introduction in terms of the web API. So now we are going to the most exciting part, which is implementation of the web API, Restful API, where the .NET Core 3.1. So bear with us. We're gonna start the implementation shortly, and please do subscribe to our website to support us and also get any notification of in case of any um, videos uploaded. We have lots of exciting videos, practical videos in terms of the Kafka, microservices, Dockers, and GitHub, Kubernetes. So you just go there and browse our channel. You will see a lot of useful things. So bear with us. We're gonna basically move to the implementation shortly. Right. So now let's start implementing the API. So as you can see, we have got the empty Gando Tech REST API solution. So now we are going to start adding some interesting things into this. So um, to make it more actually interactive, I'm gonna firstly start the API to basically show you how we creating a web API project in our solution, and then I'm gonna add some more things accordingly to show you why. Basically, what's the reason of using them. So to create the web API, so you just need to create a new project and then go to your ASP Core Web Application, ASP Core Web Application, create. So you're gonna put your project name like inventory API, and then in the same solution, and then try to create it. In here, we're gonna create our API. You can create a literally empty project, but we're gonna create a API to give us the basic things, at least for us. And in here, I'm going to remove the configure to HTTPS. We don't need it for now. We just need to use the HTTP format. So tick this off, and then let's start the adventure. Superb. So as you can see, the scaffolding of the API has been created now, inventory API. So we have got the API structure. As you can see, the controllers, the app settings, program startup, and the basic classes, which is the Poco class. So what I'm gonna do for now, we don't need these Poco class. So we are going to create our own. Also this controller. So we don't need these things. So we have got the app settings, which is already basically configured. We have got the program, which is basically running our startup. And we have got the startup, which is all the configuration services are happening in there. So um, the first thing we are basically going to create here is to actually create our basically what's the name, controller, which is product controller here. We're gonna call it product. So we are going to create a API controller actually. And in order to do that, I'm just going to call it product controller. Bingo. So as you can see, uh, the, the controller for API has been created. That's the root attribute, which is giving us the root once you are running the application. So by default, it's adding the API slash your controller name, whatever it is. It just so whenever you put something like this, it's like a parameter, and it's understandable for Visual Studio to say, oh, okay, I have to put the controller name here. So what's the controller name is product. So it's gonna put the controller name here after the API. And the second attribute is specifying that, okay, the controller base, the controller you are creating must be the API controller, not the normal controller which we are using in the MVC. So the controller has been created now. We're gonna remove unnecessary usings for now. Just save it. Super. So now our controllers is ready to basically to use for us. And the second step is to introducing our Poco classes and the services which are fetching the data. So in order to do that, let me mention something here, because in here our main focus is on creating the API. So in uh, that basically scenario, which is going to basically mention that, okay, where our basically data store is coming from, and how we're gonna store our data, and these sort of questions in terms of the persistent part of the API. This is not basically, this is out of our interest because it could be anything. So what I'm going to do, that's the interesting part. I'm going to introduce the API in that way, which you easily could attach any data services which you are basically required to have to be able to communicate and persist your data there, could be changed easily. So that's why I'm basically, I mentioned at the beginning, we're gonna have some exciting things to see that. So I'm going to make our API completely independent from the data layer. So in the future, if you want to change the data layer, you can just easily change it without touching the API. And in this basically video, we are not going to use, I don't know, entity framework, or using the SQL Server or Oracle or any other basically database uh, available in the market. So we just basically use a normal list, and we use in-memory things to be able to basically push and fetch the data. So our persistent store is going to be a memory, easily using the list and just play with that. But the good thing is, as soon as you want to change it to any, for example, entity framework architecture, you can just change your data service layer. That's it. So without touching the API. So in order to do that, I'm going to create two more projects, which I create them as a client, as a .NET standard class library, to basically give that ability to be able to communicate with any framework, either .NET Core or .NET Framework. So I'm gonna put it like domain dot models. So this is one project. You introduce your Poco classes, and then another class library, which is going to be another .NET Standard class library, and I just name it domain.data service. That's it. So I'm gonna rename this project, this Poco class, to product. I'm just creating a product Poco class here, and I'm just going to basically add my Poco class here, so to just speed up the process. So nice one. So in order to do that, I need my Newton package. Newton soft. Oh, sorry. And just install it. Superb. So now just add it. Awesome. So this is my Poco class. I'm just make my class serializable to be able to be basically whenever I want to use the auto serializer, easily would be able to serialize it or deserialize it to the certain formats. I'm gonna use this basically property to give it a normal basically name, which is once you serialize it to the JSON or deserialize it to the object, it does know what would be the name once it's basically serialized to the JSON format. So I'm gonna use the normal ID, name, price, and quantity with non-capital letters. Once it's serialized to the JSON format, then it's going to be understandable for any deserialized format. Right, so this is my Poco class which I'm going to use as per the slide which we had for architecture. Now our Poco class is ready. So the next part is going to be our basically data service, which could be anything. So the good thing is whenever you want to, for example, detach this data service, which is a very basically persistent environment, to the proper data service, like using the entity framework, communicating with the SQL Server, or any ADO.NET or any Oracle or MySQL, any or even NoSQL databases like MongoDB, whatever. So you can just easily replace your new data service with this project. Simple as that, and everything will remain the same. So that's why I try to basically make it much more easier. If you, for example, you wanna use the entity framework, you just introduce your entity framework in this data service project and just dump it here, replace it with this one, and bingo, that's it. It's gonna start working for you. And I'm gonna create a service here, which is product service. So basically it could be any other services as well. So this is a basic one for us because we are just using the product at the moment. But it could be any other services in your data service layer. So you can create as many as services in here for yourself and just use it. So I've got my basically class at the moment ready. I'm just try to basically make this video more basically usable and saving the time to basically just going and type everything to the end, which is taking a lot of time. So by just basically using my ready-made code to basically make everything quicker and the life easier. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just going to copy and basically paste my class here. So as you can see, let me at first giving the references in my basically class to um, make the class working for ourselves. So in here, what we need is, let me try to build the model to have the, okay, I'm gonna add my model project as I'm going to use this class in my data service layer. So now I can easily reference it to the domain model. Okay, so if I want to start, as you can see, this is my um, data store, simple and easy and tidy. It's just a list of products with some default values, and that's it. So what I'm gonna do, the API is going to interact with this data store and update and fetch and applying the CRUD on this basically data store. Also, we have some methods which is going to interact with our data layer, which is private. As you can see, only this basically data service has got access to this data store, as basically it's basic expected. And also the other thing which is really important is um, so just try to using all these basically methods as a asynchronous to make sure we are supporting the asynchronization in the case of heavy load in our data service. So as you can see, let me start from beginning. As I explained, this is our data store, which is a list of products, and we have got some instantiate and basic data information in there. And then we're gonna go through the functionality. So we have one add product async functionality. What it does, it's receiving a product as a input parameter. We're gonna check the product if the product is null or that product is exist based on the ID. So our basically primary key is ID here. So I'm gonna check it if it's not duplicated or if it doesn't exist. Then I'm gonna allow this method to add the product and return true for us, which is saying, okay, thumbs up, we added the product into the data store. Otherwise, it's going to return false and it doesn't do anything for us. The same here for inserting the data into the specific index. So it's the same as add product. The only thing is you can insert the data in any basically part of the list or data store. So again, the same, we are checking the data and also the product to make sure this product has got value, and then we insert it in that specific index which the user interested to do. The next functionality is updating the product async, which is what it does. It basically receiving the ID, and then this is the product which need to be updated. So what it does, it will basically get the ID, which is the product ID, and then return back the index of that basically product in the list, and then I'm going to update it, just replacing the product to with the current one and just return true. If for example that product doesn't exist in our list in our data store, it will return false. Simple as that. The delete product, again, it will get the product ID, it will find the product indexes, and then it will remove it from that index. It's a simple uh, data amendment in your data store. So the main thing is, let me give you basically a hint. So if you have, for example, the entity framework, this part is just going to introduce your entity framework, the DB context in your basically class, and then all these methods are going to just fetching the data or amending in your basic via the data the entity framework. That's it, simple as that. So you would already even have all these methods in place. The only thing is just these codes should be basically changed to a couple of other lines. As if you're aware of entity framework, definitely it's going to be exactly the same lines, because entity frameworks make the life easy for you to just updating and fetching the data, simple as that. So for deletion, again, getting the product ID, find it, and then remove it. Simple as that. Get product async, which is getting the product ID and fetch it from the basically your data store. Either you can find it, you will return the whole product value, as you can see, or you will return null if you can't find it. So you can just recognize, okay, this the product ID is exist or not. And get product indexed async, which we are using in a couple of places here, as you can see. It getting the product ID and returning the index of that product in the data store. And finally, get products async, which is just returning the data store. Simple as that. Simple as that. So that's the whole data service, which is providing us the data. So you can basically easily adding this data service layer in your web API and just keep using that and provide your information. So let me build that my project. Superb. That project is also ready. So these are two fundamental things which we basically require to be able to use in our API. So now get back to API. Oh, sorry, why this one? I'm gonna just add these two projects reference in my uh, web API because I'm going to use them there. So I'm going to close all these things. Now, so the web API is basically ready to start using the other projects and take advantage of them to provide us a proper data. So in terms of the data service layer, again, I just created this to make your life easier to just whenever you wanna change your data service data layer, you can easily just replace this project, and that's it, as simple as that. As far as the Poco classes are the same, and it should be, definitely it should be, because this is your data structure. So even if you want to change the data structure, again, you can change it. You can change your data structure and I mean the models and also the data service, and then just use it in your inventory API. So everything is completely flexible in terms of what you want to do. So in terms of the product controller, so this is our controller, which is going to be simple as it should be. So it just again providing us some features of CRUD through the data layer. That's it. So it's going to be somehow almost the same as what we did in the data service layer, and just call those methods in the data service. Simple as that. So again, I'm going to just basically copy and paste those things from the to just make basically the life easier and achieving the goal quicker. So bingo. So as you can see, we have got the product service here. I'm going to just add it to my references. So the product service is pointing to that class which is in the data service. So this is our data service which we are going to use it. And so again, I'm going to follow the IOC design pattern, which is basically quickly, easily, you can basically expand your project. You can unit test your project easily. You can mock your project to be able to test it, to unit test it. So it's completely flexible and the cleaned code in your basically implementation. So now I've got my product service ready to be used wherever basically I want. So I'm going to add all the references which I require to use here. And just, okay, I've got the product to be introduced as a pro class here. So as you see, I'm using my data service and also my models in my controller. So as part of my controller, I've got some functionality which is going to be provided to the end user, whoever is using our web API, and we are going to give them these facilities to be able to take advantage from our data indirectly. So one of the features is a get request, which is basically get data. And this get data, what it does, it's returning all the products which is available in our data store. So I believe it gives you a hint which basically method in the data service could be used in here. Yes, get products async, which is giving us all the products required and available in the data store. So as you can see, simple as that. I just call this method from the data service. This is the list. Either it's empty or it's basically is empty or is null. I will return none, not found. So as you can see, I've got the action result basically a variable here or type here, which is you can, as part of the API, you can return some HTTP response messages to your end user to give them more information in terms of the data, the things which you are basically sending. So simple as that. And it gives you more basically information to your end user to see why I got this basically result back. So simple as that. So the not found clearly says, oh, okay, this data is not available. There is no data available in our basically data store because it's supposed to return all products. And if the product is basically has got data, we just return it back with okay, okay, it's 200 thumbs up. The request has been basically responded properly, and this is the result and the list of the products which I'm going to return back to my end user. And it's this basically request is going to be happened by the HTTP GET product protocol. So these are the introductions in terms of, this is some descriptions about your feature, about your request which you are going to send to the API. So this API, this request is going to be a get, and this get is basically returning a list of the products, and by these basically two kind of HTTP response messages, either not found or okay, which is 200, the status code. We have another get method which is returning us a specific product which user already provided the ID. So this is how to introduce the parameter in our web API. So if you have any parameter which you are sending via the URL, I just make it clear, sending via the URL, and this is a get protocol. So you can introduce it here. I'm going to send the ID via my URL to get the products. So there is something I need to mention here because uh, as you can see, once you try to basically fetch the data, whatever you see in the main run in the web API, in the what's the name, in the browser. Let me open up the browser here and show you how it looks like actually. So what it looks like is I'm gonna basically type like like um, API, for example, like if I put the comment here, like my URL, whatever it is, whatever it is, a slash API, a slash product. This is all basically things which you are going to see in your address bar. That's everything you see in your API. And whenever you hit this basically URL, as you can see everywhere is going to be the same. So what I'm expecting from this URL is this one. So if you hit this URL, it's going to call this get. Simple as that. If you hit this URL like this, it gives you it's going to call this get request. So all of these, let me use the protocol as well. So I'm using the get protocol. I'm using the get protocol, but as you can see, the first part of the URL exactly the same. So the only thing which distinguish between these two requests are this value here, which is your parameter. So these are automatically will be mapped together. So bear in your mind, this is really clean Web API usage, but also a bit confusing because it raised the question in your mind. Oh, I'm using the same URL. So how is going to distinguish between these get and posts? So the first thing is your get protocol, making that clear. Okay, we have got some get protocols, we have some post protocols, we have some put and delete protocols. So once you put the get in your request, either your Postman or your application, automatically these two methods will be candidated as a result. Okay, this request will go to one of these. So now how you distinguish, okay, which one is going to, then if you don't have any parameter, it will go to this one, which just a simple HTTP get. If you use this one, it will go to that one, which is has got the parameter. So this is the only way it's going to distinguish that. So bear in your mind about this. Okay, so it's basically receiving the product ID. Again, if we go to another method from the product service in the data service, which is the get product async, which is accepting the ID. So if you go to the implementation, simple as that, you will see the second one is using that one, the first one is using this one, and you see the references as well. And so you will receive one product here. You check the product, it shouldn't be null. If it's null, it means not found. If it's not null, we just return OK with the product as a result in here. Simple as that. Right, so we have got to get one all products, the other one is a specific product. Next one is a post protocol, which is saying I'm going to post something to the server. So in post basically request, what we do, we are actually going to use again the same URL, exactly the same URL. The only thing is distinguish that if you see post, okay, you are sure, okay, this request will go to those functionalities which has got or decorated by post. So which are two here. So this URL with the post is saying, okay, go to those URLs or requests which are decorated based on the HTTP post. So we have two. So now how to distinguish them? If you have any parameter after this product, then it will use the one with parameter like 3. See, this one exactly the same as this one, but the distinguish is based on the protocol, which is get or post. Again, the same here for this one and the top one, which is that. But now between these two posts, the distinguish is the parameter here. So the concept would be the same as HTTP GET, which I already explained. So it should have the parameter here, it should have parameter here. So the question now is, oh, my post method has got two parameters. So why I'm passing only one parameter? Or In here, this post has got one parameter, but I'm not sending in parameter via the URL. Oh, yes, that's the point of using the post. So whenever you want to send some data under the hood, not via the URL, under the hood without basically being seen by the user looking at the address bar, then you're gonna post it to your server, and it's gonna be happened via the basically data which is applicable as part of your post request, and that is going to use the JSON format for you. So all that request as a data will be serialized to the JSON format and then will be sent to the server to take an action. So this product as an object will go via the data in JSON format, and this ID will go via the URL. So what it does is say, okay, I'm gonna post some data for this specific product to update it. Simple as that. Simple as that. And this is the ID, and that's the ID and the product which is coming from the data. So it automatically your web API will understand, okay, I have to check the data to deserialize it and then get the product from there. So in here, this post is going to add some data for me. I got the product. I will add it via this. You can see it's really simple and tidy because you already do everything via the all the business logics are in the add product async. So in here, the only responsibility this method has got as part of the controller is to just say, okay, add the product into the data store. It just gives the responsibility to add product async, which is going to run some business logics here. And once it makes sure everything is fine, then after the validation, it will be added to the product. Even these functionality or business logics could be extracted to another project, which is the sort of validator validation projects. And the business logics are there. You can just go there, put your validations, and then once you made sure everything is fine, then push it to the data store. Simple as that. So it just adding the data, calling this method, getting the result. If the result is true or false, as you know, this method is returning true or false, if you remember. So if the result is false, I'm just returning bad request. It could be anything. I'm just sending bad request because, just more basically understandable. But you could use no content or any available type of the result as a action results. And then to make it more clear, I put the message here. You can extract this message and use it in our proposals. So no worry about that. And for example, I said, okay, if you receive the bad request in the add product async, it means the value is null or duplicated, which makes sense because the only way your business logic is say, okay, either the product is null or it's duplicated. It already exists. And then otherwise, it will return okay as a HTTP response and true. So now, guys, that result, this is something which is going to the end user who is going to use your API. So you have to be careful whatever you are returning back to the end user. So it's very important how to basically organize your result and then send it back. So you can play a lot in terms of this preparation as a HTTP response message to the end user. So you make sure, for example, you are not returning any exception to them or something like this. You just need to put your own customized messages to the user. So be careful about this. Okay, so the next post, which is the using the ID, is again using the insert because I'm expecting to use this post as a find this product ID and then insert it. Insert my product into this index actually. So this is what I'm expecting to do. and it's calling the index insert product, sending ID as a index, and then add it. That's it, insert it. Again, I will get the result. I will check the result. It's going to be exactly the same because the logic which I put behind that is the same as in add addition. So they are using the same principle. Value is null or duplicated. Again, the same. So now we have got put as a another protocol. So in put, normally put protocol is being used for any amendment in your data. So I'm gonna use again the same URL, but this time with the parameter. So because this parameter is used as an ID, as a product ID. And as you can see, I've got the parameter here. And again, this product too is coming via the data in serialized JSON format. And you can see all the what's the name? All the um, shape are the same. So you can see just clean and tidy, just 4 lines. Okay, this one is calling the update method with this ID and then add basically update that product ID. Simple as that. Now, as a result, I'm just returning product not found because the only way update returning false is if it cannot that product there, which means the index is -1 in the list. And I'm returning product not found and bad request. And otherwise it will return true with OK. And the last functionality, which is delete. So as part of delete protocol, I'm using again the same URL. And the only thing is I've got parameter. So as you can see, some of these URLs are exactly the same, exactly the same, exactly the same here. And what is distinguished between these requests are the protocol, post, put, delete, or get. So see, it's a bit confusing, but it's really well organized. The other way you can use, which is the traditional way, because we know in the web APIs, each API or each controller is specifically relying or focusing on a specific responsibility, like product, like customer, like student, like teacher. So these sort of categories, user. So once you're coming to this level of the categorization, you don't have much to do. So somehow this CRUD is the only thing you do in your basically controller, like creating, updating, deleting, or reading. So this is the maximum thing you could do. So that's why the way of using the get method like this, or post method like this, or put method like this, or delete method or like this is normally one or two with different parameters. Other than that is always simple like this. So if you have, let's say, okay, if you want to make it more complicated and you have, for example, gets with the same, what's the name, same overloading, and you can't use get, in this case, what you can do, you can just use a normal method name. But in here, then you have to, after controller, you have to use your method names as well. Or you have to add it, add like a root here on top of each method and just reroute it to that specific name. So that's all you have to do. But I'm sure, I bet on that you never go above this or beyond this one. So uh, you don't need to worry about this. Okay, cool. So as you can see, our controller now is ready. Let me have a build to see if there is any error around. Awesome. Succeed. So now Web API is almost done. The controller is done. Now, in terms of the uh, in terms of the controller here. So now the other thing is really important for us is the data service. So we are using the data service here, but the problem is we are injecting our data service to our basically web API. So if we just straight away create it, it's not gonna instantiate any instances of the product service. So we need to instantiate it once we run the API. Or even, for example, if you want to write a unit test, which is using this basically controller, you have to inject your product service in there. Either you mock it or you really create it with the data. So what you need to do in your startup, once you're introducing the service, you need to actually add your or instantiate your data service in there. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add a singleton. Uh, so I think I have to add it. Let me add it to my project here and then just run the class. And in here again we need to using the data service, simple as that. Bingo. So now once we're running the API or publishing the API, automatically we will instantiate our product service to be able to use the facilities or features there. It's like creating an object, simple as that. Right. So let's clean up the club class. Okay, cool. If I build it, yeah, seems everything is fine. So I'm going to just remove this part because we are not going to authorize anything at the moment. And I think our web API is ready now. So let's have a go and run it to see if it's working. Okay, it's using my. Let's have a look to the project. What we have here. Nice one. Nice one. All clean and tidy. And the other thing basically which I'm going to use is I'm going to make it more easy with the simple port once I'm trying to run my application. And that's it. So if we have a look to the app settings here, okay. Mm, yeah, it seems to be everything is fine. The launch setting. Okay, in here, what you need to do, if you remember, once we create the API, it used to use a specific basically name in there. So now what we do, our launch URL is different now, which is product now this time. So you just need to use your controller name, which we basically you want to start with in here, and then save it. And now go back to run. Bingo. So as you can see, now the URL is this one. So as you can see, something is missing here, which is if you go back to your controller, it's starting with API and controller. So if you want to basically make your project work at the beginning, you need to add this part as well. It's just for the running the URL. It doesn't matter if you basically change it there. It just the only thing is once you use it, it will give you the result in the page. If you don't change it, doesn't matter because no one is using that UI. Whoever is going to use it, you just need to give them the proper URL. That's it. So nice one, exciting. I'm so excited. So as you can see, I have run the API product and I'm expecting, so the browser always using the GET protocol. So I've got GET protocol, I've got the API slash product. So what I'm expecting to get, I'm expecting to get products, which means list of the product, and does make sense. I've got the list of product in JSON format. Nice one. So I'm going to fetch the product ID number 3. Wow, super excited. Super excited. See, simple as that. It will give you back the product, which the product ID is 3. So these are the only things you can do via the URL. So the only thing is whenever you want to use your API, that API must be published or at least must be run via your IS Express. So what I'm gonna do to make it more basically because I'm going to use my project, my solution to add some other things. So I'm going to run it without debug mode. So just using the Control F5 to basically run my application. And now my application is running on browser. At the moment, your web API is up and running. So simple simple to say, your web API is up and running as far as is on the browser, as you can see, and my Visual Studio is also stopped. This is what I'm interested to have. Right, so uh, just bear with me. We're gonna basically now go through the other exciting part, which is using the Postman. So yeah, bear with me. Right, so let's go back to the what we have been doing. Postman, superb. So as you can see, we have got basically this is the Postman, which I have been talking about so far. That's the Windows application one, so it's really clear and easy to understand and learn. Uh, this is one of the ways you can easily test your API to make sure it's working. There are lots of features there. Today I'm gonna introduce some of them for you to just basically get your head around how to use the API. But as far as you're enhancing and implementing the API, you're gonna use this tool as well. So or any other tools basically related for testing the APIs. So to save the time, I've created my own requests. As you can see, these are the requests which is going to be used by API. So the story is, the Postman is my end user. And this is the end user application, which is interacting with our API. So API is externally outside somewhere else. The Postman as an end user is somewhere else. So we are going to use our API via the Postman. So in order to create any request, you can just basically go through the new and create a request and then name it. Once you named it, you have to choose your basically where it's going to basically to sit. Either is the API, whatever, basically just to make sure, okay, I'm going to sit my stuff in there. And just save the request. Simple as that. It will create a tab for you like this, and then you put your stuff here and then run it. So let's go back to the show. So as you can see in here, I have changed my port to 5000. So any URL you have to introduce it here for yourself. So I'm using the 5000, so I will change it to 5000 here. And this is the URL which you are going to interact with your API, which by default is HTTP localhost 5000 API product. So this is the whole URL. So if you publish it anywhere on any server, this is going to be changed. So it's going to be your base URL actually. And if you use the HTTPS to secure your basically URL, you just need to use the HTTPS here. So whenever you publish it, if you publish it as a HTTP, you use the HTTP, otherwise you use the HTTPS, simple as that. And in here, you have got some protocols which you use to fetch your data or doing any CRUD in, in abbreviation way. It's just simple. You have got get, post, put, delete. So these are four things which I'm going to use them. There are other things as well. You can use them, but we are not interested at the moment. So the beginning and the basic thing is using the get protocol. And this request which I'm basically having here is the get products, which means all the available products in the store. So I'm using this URL, and pretty much all the URLs are the same as this one everywhere for all the requests. My request is get. So the simple question is, okay, by having get and this URL, what do you achieve? That's it. Go back to the source and go back to the source here. If I go back to my controller, by having a look, having get, so it's going to be this one or this one. Without parameter, that's it. This is the result. So I'm expecting to have the um, all products. So for these basically specific ones, you don't have anything to send via here, even the body, nothing. Just put the URL and just do send. Yes, that's it. That's the result which I'm getting. That's the result which I am getting. So you need to just look into the body and raw. So this is what exactly I got from the browser as well. So this is the basic result. Simple as that. Now I'm going to use a specific product. Again, I will change the port to 5000. And in here, as you can see, again, the URL is the same, only using the parameter and the get one. Again, you won't have any body parameters, authorization, because we just kept everything simple. We are not going to use any authorization process or whatever, and just do save. Simple as that. Bingo. So I'm expecting to have the product ID by 3, and it will return me a JSON response which has got these values. So if you deserialize this JSON format, automatically you can deserialize it to your object, product object. As you can see, it has got ID, name, price, quantity. If you remember, we had a JSON property on top of, as attribute on top of our Poco class properties. And these are the things which you introduced that. So I'm expecting if JSON file has got this non-capital name, just deserialize them to the object. It's understandable for your basically object. And as you can see, the status is okay, 200. You remember? We were returning 200 and okay. That's it. Now, the other basically functionality, which is add product. And as you can see in here, again, we are using the same URL, but it will distinguish that by protocol is post, which means is adding the basically the URL, adding this product to our data store. Again, in here we would have body. You remember we had we were talking about the data as part of the we were talking about the data as part of our um, data basically under the hood. This is the product which is being sending by our data body. So as you can see, you need to introduce your JSON format as a data under the body. So as you can see, this JSON format saying, okay, add the ID, the product with ID 6, product 6, price 600, and then quantity 10. And then just send it. And it will return you true. If you remember, it was sending to 100, which is okay, and then true. As part of this basically result for us. So if it does the job for us, it will return okay with true. So now, if I go back to get products and send it, at the moment you can see there is no 6 here. So as soon as I send it, wow, the new value has been added here. So which means the data store has got the value. Now I'm trying to send the same ID again. Oops, it failed. What I get, 400, bad request. And what's the value in there? Value is null or duplicated. Simple as that. See? So this is the data which is giving, this is basically what end user will see. And this is status. And now I'm gonna get to insert a new value to my data store. Again, I would add the ID. So as you can see, I will send the basically index via the parameter here, and it's post, and I'm gonna send my new data, which is going to insert in this index via the body, and then just run a send. Wow, I got through with OK, which means it has been added, inserted actually. Now I'm gonna, so this is the index 3 and 4, sorry, product ID 3 and 4. I'm gonna send the result. Yes, the product ID 7 has been added to the index 3. See, that has been added. Now I'm trying to send the same ID. I get false. Bad request. Value is null or duplicated. Simple as that. See, exactly what you expect from the API. Then update your data. So what I'm expecting is I'm going to update the ID with product ID 3 with these new values. I'm expecting to send to change my product ID to these values, which is product 3 updated and 450 and 8 as a quantity. I will send it. Nice. Oh, sorry. I have to change it to 5. So it's using the old web API. Yes, it's updated. Okay, 200, true. I go back to get updates. So at the moment, the product ID doesn't, this is the values. So now if I get the new data, ID is 0 and the name is product 3 updated, price is 450 and quantity is 8, so it's different. So it's updated now. And the delete product, which is going to remove the product ID 3 for me. And again, I will change it to 5,000. So in here, we don't have anybody. It's just an ID which is coming from the URL, and just do send. That's it. So it must be removed from my list. Ta-da! We don't have ID 3, 2, and then 7. So 3 has been removed from there. Nice one. Also, if you send another request with 3, you will get bad request, product not found. It couldn't find the product because it's already removed. It's not in the list. So now I'm going to add it with number 3. And then number 3 with the same price, and it's added, which means this is the other way, which means that value wasn't there. And I'm going to fetch. Yes, the value is added. Again, remove 3. Now I got through, which means it has been removed and not found now because I tried to remove it for second time and it's not there anymore. Yes, that's it. So as you can see, via the Postman, we can easily test our data. Without creating a new console applications, having those hassles, and then basically test this. just straight away Postman, put your URL, hit the request, and that's it. Get the result. Simple as that. Right. So now, uh, to make it more basically interactive, I'm gonna add a new console application in this solution to test it via the console application as well, to make it more basically clear once you how you are using your API via the application in a reality. So this is the real thing, which is basically we're going to talk about. So I'm going to create a new project, and then I'm going to create a console application in .NET Core, and then add app to use API, and just add it to my solution. Nice one. And I'm going to make it as a startup project because I'm going to run it now. So now what we want to do, we want to uh, mm, basically call API from our web application, our console application or web application, any endpoint. And it is a real actually example for us. So in order to achieve this, uh, what we need to do, I'm just basically going to create a simple Poco class for myself. This is one of the ways you can do it, which is basically my product as a third party, and then basically adding my Poco class in there to in order to deserialize my data into the object. So it's exactly the same as what we have in the uh, models. I'm going to create another product pro uh, product service, which is giving me some service in terms of accessing to how to access to the API, how to access to the API. And in order to do that, I've created another helper because my get requests are almost the same. So let me basically bring the product class firstly. So I'm gonna basically copy my product class and add it to the product service here. Awesome. So that's my service. So as part of my basically class, I've got the HTTP client. So the HTTP client is a new way of accessing to the web APIs, to sending the request and receiving the response. So this is the most recent update of the Microsoft, which make it basically much more easier for developer to achieve this basically goal. But there are other basically classes as well which you can use them, but they need more implementation to achieve that. But this is the most recent one in the Microsoft era. So you need to have a HTTP client, which basically you send your get, post, and delete everything from there. And again, I've used my IOC format to be able to easily inject my HTTP client from there. And basically, the structure again, it's I just followed the same principle. So as you can see, again, we would have the same methods, get products, get product. But the only thing is the methods structure are the same. But inside that, we are just basically using the um, requests or basically yeah, requests to send it to the API. But the whole structure are the same. So anyone looking at this project and at this solution easily could understand what's going on in terms of the methods, in terms of basically the functionalities inside the methods. So the product service inside your application is responsible to send the request in the relevant place in the API, call the API, send the request, and then get the response and return it back. Simple as that. And yes, so as you can see, I've got the get products, I've got get product, I've got add product async, I've got insert product, I've got update product, and I've got delete product. So as you can see, it's exactly the same features which I had in two other places. And also what the other thing which is basically is really helpful, I'm using the HTTP response message from the add product, insert product, update product, and delete product to get my basically to analyze my responses, something like this. So I used to use so the point is, yes, in the HTTP client, rather than having only one shape of method, which is just um, one method name, you have to do preparation and then get the response from there. It made it easy and make it compatible with your get post protocols in requests from your basically web API. So as you can see, we have got get async, which is sending the get protocols, get basically a request. We have got where is it? We have got put async, we have got post async, and we have got delete async. So as you can see, is easily categorized based on your needs. So you can easily achieve the goal by calling these methods. So as far as basically in get async, I was using the same functionalities in there. So I just made my basically class as a HTTP client helper to just basically to just how can I say to just introduce my HTTP client helper to make it more generic. I just introduced a generic basically class there. So I'm going to create an external class and put it there. Simple as that. And then I will show you what is a simple method. It's there to just make the life easy for our usages. So I just introduced a static class, which is a helper client, and I'm gonna remove this one. That's it. And now it's a static class, which is coming from this class. I will basically explain to you what's going on here easily. I'm using the Newton JSON package. So I'm gonna just install the Newton Soft package here to be able to achieve this goal. Simple. Now it's accessible. Just reference it. Simple as that. All done. So as you can see, I've got two methods here. One, get async, which is basically receiving the type and um, receiving the type and um, client and also the URI, and then doing the job for me and returning the result, which is the generic result actually. Also, as part of my post method or put method or delete method, any update on my data store, I have to create the HTTP content. I have to provide the content in a JSON format in the certain format and send it to the post or put or delete async methods. So this one is generating them for me to just avoid duplications and in the code. So that method is a generic method. Either it's basically working with only list of products or the product. So that's why I use this generic type to use it from once I'm using the deserialization, and also once I'm returning the data, either it could be list of product or product. So it easily manage the job for me. If any type other types coming along, you can just easily use this method again and just put the certain type to get the result. And if the result is null, it just return me default to the type, to the generic type. Simple as that. So let's go back to the product service, which is coming from my console application. I'm injecting my HTTP client, and in here I'm using the get async with this type. This get async get back to my helper. So I'm saying, okay, I'm sending the request for receiving the list of the products, and this is my client, and this is my base URL. So that's my base URL. I will show you where I have instantiated that, initialize this base URL address for the client. I will show you. So what it does, it will basically get the client and the client base address, and then um, give me the result. Simple as that. And this one is again for get async. What I'm gonna do, I'm just putting the client here and also generating the base address and my parameter here. You can see these are all the basic things which you simply do that. So you can make it more basically refactor and take basically the generating this URL inside your method as well, as we have the client which is the parent of the base address. So you can rather than using the get async, you can just make it one simple parameter, which is client, and then generate the URL over there as well. So just for case of the refactoring to make it more clean and tidy. Uh, Again, generating the in here, for example, you just need to inject the ID rather than base URL, and then achieve that goal. So the client base address ID, and then for add product in in here, you have to generate your content. That second method is coming to the consideration. So you give it the product, and based on the product which you give it, it will understand um, what basically, you can see it's a generic method again. It will understand what should be serialized to your JSON format, and then create a JSON content for a product content for you. And you use the post async here again with your base address and also the content here. So this is all you need to do for post async. So which means please post the data, please connect to this API URL and post this data for me and add it. In insertion, what you do, you say, okay, connect to this address and this product ID and update, insert that one in this index. Sorry, this is the ID, this is the index, not ID. Please go to this index and add this content for me. For update, you say, okay, go and fetch this product ID and update this with this content. Simple as that. Again, you can see all same principle. So if you basically have a background about the Postman, what we already discussed, you will see is exactly the same. This is the case of the implementation using in the application. That's it. And the deletion, just put the ID. Please go to this base URL and then delete the data for me. Simple as that. Simple as that. So if you remember, we talked about the HTTP response messages, which is coming from our basically API. So these post async, put or delete or even get, they will return us, as you can see in the declaration, they return us a HTTP response message. So you can exactly get the response message from your API and then pass it to your any other places and just use it. So it just simple as that. So now I'm going back to my program because I'm going to introduce my client and any other relevant and required things to be able to use it in my application. So I'm going to create an instance of the HTTP client. Then what I'm gonna do, I'm going to instantiate uh, my client with the relevant data. Simple as that. So in here, I'm introducing my API, which now is 5000 API product. See, exactly the same as what you use in your Postman. And then I'm going to introduce my basically media type, which is the application slash JSON. That's really important because it's really depends on what type of data you are going to send through your API and what kind of data you receive. Even if you go back to the helper, in here, once you are creating your content, apart from having or serializing your value to the JSON, you have to say, okay, it's JSON, be careful. Or if you want to send a plain text, then it's going to be just application text, something like this. So be careful about these things because otherwise you will get unsupported media type. Simple as that. So be careful. After having that, you have to uh, instantiate your product service with this basically client, as you see, and uh, then start. I just put some examples here. You can just easily start basically using them. Simple as that. That's it. You just need to use them as you go. So yes, for this one you need to have, as we are using the async methods, you need to make your main asynchronized as well. So if you want to introduce your product basically service based on this client, expose it in your products. This product service is going back to your product service in your application in here. So you need to introduce it, or you can make it static as you wish. It's basically totally up to you. But that would be the best way to run it, to just use an instance and then call your get products async. Get this product async, it goes there, call your get async. This get async, it will go and call the get async from your client, which is calling your get API. And then from this place on, you will go to your product controller, it will call this method for you. So this is all the way down to there. And then once you return back, it will go back to your, to your application here, get the result, return it back, go back to programs, get the products here, and then you, in the loop, you will show your data here. The other example to basically get the product based on the product ID and then get the result, print it, or you want to basically add a new product to your data store, just create a new product, give it to your add product async, which is your product service here in the product in the application, and then print the response. So you can see the response is HTTP response message. I just made it simple. There are lots of other things inside the result which you can basically get, but I'm just interested on the result of the content which is coming from your API. You can play with that a lot. And then updating your product. I'm saying update my product with this in product ID and update it with this and then print the result. And also delete my index 4, sorry, product ID 4, and then get the result. So I'm going to run it. I just make sure my API is up and running. Now I'm going to run my application and see what's going on. Oh, I'm getting error. Wow. What's that? What's going on here? Let me see. Okay, so once you are using asynchronization, you apart from so the type once is avoid, sorry, once is void, uh, it should be changed to the task. That's it. Run the application again. So the application is running. So wow, exciting, exciting. So the first method is returning back all the list of the data which these are the changes which already done via the Postman. So you have basically inserted in this index, and then in this is a new product added number 4, and then number 3 has been updated. Where is the number 3? Number 5. Okay, so it's a real basically scenario which is interesting. So let's see what's going on. So we have these basically data in our list which has been displayed here, and then I fetched for the product ID 5. It has been returned back as it should be, and then I have created a new product. I try to create a new product with number 4. So as you can see, number 4 is there. So it hasn't been created for me, and it's just mentioned value is null or duplicated. And then it was trying to update the number 3 for me to these values. And as you can see, number 3 wasn't there. And then it says product not found. And then it was trying to, and it's returned basically, where is it? Yeah, and it returned, oh yeah. And then it was trying to remove the number 4 for me, which was exist, and it has been returned true, which means correct. It has been removed from the list. So now I'm gonna run another basically example and put the number 10 to be added to my list as it doesn't exist at the moment. 600 and quantity is 3. And then I'm gonna update number 10 to number 10 updated with this and this one. So let's have a look to see. Okay, and I'm gonna update I'm gonna remove number 5 because number 3 wasn't there. Let's see what's going on here now. Ooh, exciting. So number 4 has been removed as per the previous because data store is still up and running. So everything will be kept in the data. But as soon as you restart the web API, all will be gone, all your changes, because it's in memory data store. Right. So you won't have 4 anymore. 5 is already there. True, which what does it mean? Which means in next run of the web API, you will see the number 10 is already there. And product not found, why? Product not found, number 10. Oh, sorry. That makes sense because that one should be 10. I'm going to update number 10, and number 3 wasn't already there. So I'm going to add number 11 again. I'm going to add number 11, and I'm going to update number 11 now. And I'm going to remove number 6 because number 5 is already removed from the list. So now let's see what's going on here. Okay. Oh, what's up? Yes, the product. Yes, this null. Ah, yes, you're right. So it's just the case of the parameterizing because 5 already removed. I'm going to fetch number 10. That's it, and run it again. Okay, nice one. So I've got 1, 2, 7, 6, 10. 5 has been removed. Number 10 has been fetched. Number 11 has been added. Number 11 has been updated. Number 6 has been removed. So if I rerun the application, or let me show you here, I'm gonna update to see number 10. Number 10, yes, number 10 has been updated. See, that's the, sorry, number 11 has been updated. Number 11 has been updated. Number 10 is already there. And if I go back here, number 11 with product 10 updated. See? So yeah, it was the sort of example of how to use the web API. So I'm sure you are so excited to do it yourself on your own and start producing your commercial APIs and use them and enjoy it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe to our video. Shortly, we would have a new video which is going to secure the this web API, and we are going to use a new technology in OpenID Connect, which is identity server. And with identity server, you can achieve the single sign-on as well and single sign-out. So you can use it to have a separate web API, which is called as an identity provider, and make your all APIs, all the web applications, everything secure for you. But in the next video, we concentrate on the web API, but we create the identity provider itself and try to basically use our web API, which is this basically inventory API, and make it secure under the hood. So whenever whoever is trying to access to your web API, it should be authenticated and then authorized. So if, for example, you don't have the proper access keys, you won't be able to use the API. And in this case, it will be really secure and not easy to access. Simple as that. So basically, looking to the channel and also Facebook or Instagram accounts to see about the new updates. And please, again, do subscribe to our channel to support us and also get any notification from us. Thank you very much for watching this video, and bye.